Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. I'm your host, Nicholas Allen, and my guest today needs no introduction. He is the Stu Smith. Been teaching people pool skills for over 25 years. He's a tactical fitness coach, the author of Never Quit Mindset. He has live Q&A, CSS, critiques, books, courses, online coach, United States Naval Academy graduate, and a Navy SEAL. And on top of that, he's out there every day teaching the next generation how to succeed in their endeavors. Really enjoy this conversation, and I hope you do as much as I did. I will have links to his socials in the show description. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley. Precision Wellness Group helps you restore balance, unlock vitality, and fuel your momentum through bioidentical hormone therapy and evidence-based personalized telemedicine. Dr. Taylor Bosley is a board-certified physician, a U.S. Army veteran, and a former Green Beret. So he knows where you've been, where you want to go, and how to get you there. And he's an actual doctor. He can prescribe you actual medicine. That's a bonus. So if TRT, HRT, peptides, hormones, or testosterone replacement therapy, kind of jumble that up there, are something you've been looking into for a while now, or just looking into, look no further than Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley, Southern Pines, North Carolina, walk-in telemedicine in person. Use code LKO20 on your initial consultation paperwork to save 20% on said consultation. Get your supplements for the gym at alphaeliteperformance.com. Use code LKO15 at checkout to save 15% on your order. I recommend the Pipe Hitter pre-workout and the creatine. Works for me, probably work for you. I do appreciate you guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Stu Smith, welcome to Lesser Known Operators, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Nicholas. Appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. As I said when we were talking earlier, the water, unfortunately, is always calling my name. And I don't think I'll get any better at my tactics in the pool from speaking to you, but at least maybe it'll keep the pool demons away from me for at least a little bit longer. Actually, I'm going to swim right after this. So
Nice. Me too.
I bet you are. You look, God, busy, man. Always in the water.
Yeah, we're in 5-6 days a week.
I'm in
Yeah.
6 to 7 days a week in the pool, but only because I can
Yeah.
recover from it. I can't recover from the running because I'm so big, but I can recover in the pool.
Yeah, gravity is a bitch.
240 pounds, man. I'm only 5'11".
Yeah, you're jacked.
Yeah. I'll stand on the bottom of the pool, full breath of air, and just look around, go, these lifeguards ain't getting me out of here if I black out. Yeah. I go
That
up to
is
them and
true.
I'll ask them, I'll go, honestly, you guys get me out of there if I black out. And the one guy goes, I'll drag you up the hill. And I go, what about the one here that's like 85 pounds? And he goes, don't black out when she's here, please.
Ooh.
I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way. That's got to be so difficult. I mean, I can't imagine trying to drag my ass out of the pool, but it happens. Do you have to do that from time to time with your students?
Yeah, we well, not as an emergency, luckily, knock on wood. But we actually practice that. It's one of the tests at Buds, which is
Yeah.
called life-saving exam, where you get to jump into the pool. There's an instructor who's fully clothed, waiting about 15 yards from the edge, and he's panicking, and you got to get him back to the edge. And that is about as combative I think I've ever gotten in the water. I mean, it is underwater wrestling. It's yeah, it's a good little test though. You got to bring your A game to that one for sure.
No, the joke on this show is, you know what? I'll pass the events, but there is no fucking way I'll pass one man. And life saving is, I'm gonna be hard pressed because I can barely drag my ass out of the pool when I'm panicking, let alone somebody else. But it's the great equalizer. I mean, you've been at this a while. Have you seen everything, or do you get even surprised by some stuff still?
Very rarely is there something that occurs that I've never seen before, especially in the water. Every now and then, like fairly recently, um, some dude had such a messed up kick that I've never seen that way of kicking before. I mean, it was so bad that I was like, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, it looked like he was doing, squats and, instead of kicking. And, so we just had to fix it. But, you know, for the most part, there are some things that I have learned because I coach so often. And I think some of the things that help me the most with coming up with new ideas is seeing people's problems as a coach student relationship. And probably one of my biggest aha moments in the water was these non-swimming athletes who are trying to go to buds or EOD or Air Force PJ type training, Army dive school, um, that their mobility is affecting their ability to streamline in the water, with like perfect streamline. They look like a plow when they glide
That's
versus
exactly how I look. It's like a
versus a
brick.
torpedo.
Yeah.
Um, and it also affect hip, knees, and ankle mobility affects how they can tread and kick with fins and without fins. So we actually do a lot of mobility, and I sell it, doing mobility work because it makes them a better swimmer or treader in the water. That's how I get young guys to do it. For me, I do it just because I'm old and I need it. But yeah, that's mobility was my big like aha moment. The reason why you can't tread is not because you don't know how to tread. It's because your hip, knees, and ankles can't move in a way to produce enough downward force to keep you up.
Sure.
So it's
Sure.
an immobility issue.
That's what I'll tell myself that today when I'm messing around
Yeah.
in the pool.
Stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
Stretch a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am in the pool. I'm a brick, and I'll push off, and I'm just pushing my arms out as hard as I can go, and I go, this is God, Nick. But that's fine. My heart rate shoots right up as soon as I jump in the pool, and we just have to deal with it for the rest of the time we're in there. But I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
It's a good thing.
But whatever. I went out. Cody Post. He speaks very highly of you,
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
and
We
I
go
worked
back a
out
little
with
bit.
him. I worked out with him 2 or 3 weeks ago now in Littleton.
Okay.
Not my style of workout, more of a cardio style. And he's what did he say? He's talking about going to dive school at 50.
Wow. That's
And
pretty nuts.
I was like,
He could
that's
do it
so.
though.
I said, yeah. I mean, honestly, with a professional train up, I said I could do it, dude. And you're in 10 times the shape that I'm in, cardiovascular wise. So yeah, he can definitely do it. But
And a lot of that is smart technique learning. If you know the techniques well, you can reduce your energy load significantly, whether you're swimming, treading, breath holding, whatever. Um, Technique is key,
yeah,
and
well,
conditioning is part two of that for sure.
with anything,
Yeah.
is the more you work at it. I don't know. I've been at it for a year and a half now, and I just use it for such a good cardio workout. I'm like,
Oh
man,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. I think as we age, we should be in the water more than on land. Still do your lifts and run a little bit. But I would say my running has been reduced, my swimming has been increased, and my stretching and mobility sessions have also been increased. But I still lift and do calisthenics as well. So it's just try to stay away from the ego lifts because one bad lift will put me out of, you know, being able to do anything for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still on the upswing. I'm chasing a couple more things that are all made up by me, but we'll,
I've been there.
everything
I've been
goes
there.
up, goes down.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun challenge, and then you're on to something else.
It's
Yeah.
never enough, is what I'm finding.
Never
It's
it's a
never,
journey. It's a journey, not
yeah.
a destination.
No. Oh no. I mean, as soon as I post something, and I'm well aware of it now, as soon as I post something on Instagram, Instagram loves to do this: is show you 100 videos of somebody that's doing it better than you, right in a
That's a good
row,
point.
just to demoralize you. And I know what it's doing. It's trying to get me content it thinks I want to see. I'm like, I don't care, like, at all. You know.
Yeah.
But no, the swimming, the lifting, and saying all that. But it's it's good. It's just I got hurt on the ocean. I'm afraid of the water, and this is my way of like overcoming some of that by being in the
Gotta
pool
deal
so
with it.
often as well. Yeah, it's better than not dealing with it, I suppose.
I would agree.
I imagine your pool it gets you maybe you'll think this is funny, maybe you won't, but that pool over at the YMCA, that is the most disrespected piece of equipment in the gym by people that use it. And I've started chirping at them lately. I go, hey, do you go wipe all your sweat on the machines upstairs and then go home? And they go, no. I said, why do you get out of the sauna and come in here and wipe your sweat in here while I'm swimming? And they come up with their excuse and shit. But I imagine people take your facility a little bit more seriously than the YMCA, disgusting YMCA where I go.
Well, I will say this is not my facility. It is a local community center.
Oh, I thought I saw you at the
They're
Naval Academy the other day.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I work out at the Naval Academy too, and yeah, that one's very serious. That one's very serious. Though where I train a lot of the local kids that aren't at the academy, we use a local pool, and it could be better. It could be better kept for sure. I mean, there's signs everywhere like take a shower before you get in, and don't be all funky when you
Oh,
come in the pool.
it
You know,
drives me nuts,
Pick,
man.
pick
It
up
drives me
pick up your
nuts.
band-aids. I hate seeing floating band-aids in the water. I don't know why that just annoys me. When band-aids are like sinking around and swimming. Like,
It's because it's disgusting. 'Cause um, but on the flip side of it, they're not going to gross me out. But there's no gym etiquette. There's people. I
yeah,
don't know. I'm like, who convinced you that this was okay? That once you hit 65 years old, you can just be disgusting here at the YMCA. So
yeah,
that's really the only negative of the pool that gets me because man, it puts me out of the mood right away, and just it'll pull me out of my headspace. And God, good. At least upstairs in the gym, I can correct people and it'd be like that. But it's a big offensive thing down in the pool of getting people to go. You're disgusting, right? So I think I'm going to lose my membership soon. I guess is what I'm getting at. So I'm going to have to find a new pool.
that's funny.
But hey, nobody else does that with the thing but they think, oh, there's chemicals in here. Everything's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, no telling how many people are peeing in it.
Well, the
Come
the
on.
kiddie pool across the walkway there, I think that's mostly pee.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. At least.
but now they've moved the senior citizen class into the lap pool, and I'm sure the level of urine has gone up quite a bit because they're not getting out. I know they're not getting out because nobody gets out that whole hour class. So, so
Yeah, yeah. That's
you're
funky.
training. You're training. How many local kids do you get out there interested in going through training with you?
Well, I run a program, and it's just a nonprofit program. It's free. Anybody who wants to serve can join our workouts, and I'm on this workout system. So you kind of jump into the system, and then I figure out where you are in that system, and scale it, up or down depending on the person and the goal. We have everybody from police officers, firefighters, FBI agents, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and most of them all want to do some form of special ops. So even the police guys are preparing for SWAT, um, and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It gets me the opportunity to coach, 12 hours a week, plus swimming another, 5, 6 hours a week. So they're basically my workouts. I just invite people to come join. And so, um, but I tailor it for them, right, for what they're trying to do, and whether that is to get stronger, to be able to hold more load whenever they're carrying rucks or people or gear, or they're getting faster for timed runs, and more muscle stamina with calisthenics tests. So it really depends on what the goal is, and we just drive them through that. But we have a lot of people. I'd say, I mean, there are people move here from out of state, find a job just to train with us for 6 months, and then head off to where they want to go. Yeah, it's really cool. Can't argue with the price, you know.
Free 99.
Yeah, no, the is $0. I mean, it's free training, when people come to train with us locally. And even the pool where we use, they let us use it for free as well. So it's pretty
It's
cool.
pretty. It's pretty
Yeah.
badass. You get a
Yeah.
professional trainer and just jump in there on the workouts and everything. God.
Like I said, it's a lot of fun. It gives me hope for the future. I see a generation of young people that want to serve every day, and that is something that kind of carries me. When I wake up, it was 25 degrees this morning, and we work out outside year round. I mean, you got to work in the cold, might as well work out in the cold. I mean, that is what we do. And every day, in the winter, I can feel myself and everybody else getting a little bit tougher, getting a little bit hardened with the cold weather. You're up in Wisconsin, so I would imagine that would be a little chillier version from down here in Maryland. But we're expecting snow tomorrow, and we're still going at it. We'll be outside, and should be fun.
That sounds terrible.
And you know what? I think the reason why we have a really good success rate in our guys that leave here and go on to various spec ops jobs with high attrition programs is, yeah, we have a good training program, but there's an element that is just intangible, right? Waking up at 5 in the morning, 5:30, getting here, knowing that when you step out of that car, you're going to be outside for the next hour and a half. Um, and it's either hot and humid in the summer or it's getting below freezing in the winter. There's a level of like, this really sucks, and you got to push through it and do it. So I think everybody has that little battle in the morning, and I think it's very helpful.
The ability to succeed and graduate and get your beret or your tab or your trident or whatever, what have you, has nothing to do with the physicality part of it. It's
Mm-mm.
everything else. It's just like with the gym. The working out is easy. Everything else around it, consistency, diet, sleep, the stuff that nobody sees. It's super boring.
Yeah.
You know, the, how did I get my squat to where it is right now? Well, the thousands of meals. And I was thinking about this the other day. It's, the 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 coming back every time from either an injury or a setback, or you have to stop going to the gym. It's that you didn't quit in the interim, because everybody does.
Hmm.
You have to quit to you got shit dialed in, and then you got to quit because you got to go do something else. And it's the never letting it go, and always coming back and working at it, and all of those things that just said, I'm just going to keep going and doing this when it's cold and all that other stuff. It's never the working really hard. That part's easy. That's why I tell people
Yeah.
special operations is very easy. All you have to do is work your ass off. It's all the other
Yeah.
shit that you got to deal with to succeed.
Yeah. There's a lot more mental to it, and trying to find that way of coaching it without literally coaching it has been what I've worked at for the last 25 years trying to do. Just helping these young guys realize that they're a little bit tougher than they thought. Um, and then they go do these things, and they're like, "Holy crap! I can't believe how prepared I am." And that's really good. I'm honored to be part of that journey for them. So,
Yeah, correctly knowing your limitations, which nobody does. Nobody does. The big thing about selection for us is people say, "Well, how am I going to know when I'm ready?" Bro, you're not going to know when you're ready. You're always going to
no.
think you're not ready. You're going to be like, "I need to run a little bit faster than this." And I go, as long as you can pass the gates, you can get to the end.
Yeah,
100% if you can pass the gates, because
I would
everything
agree with
else
that.
is up here.
Yep.
And they're like, "Well, I want to get my 12-mile ruck down to 2 hours." And it's like I went a 2:55 every time I did the 12-mile ruck, and I graduated. Like, there's no reason to smash the ruck. There's no reason to run a 10-minute 2 mile. There's nothing in there. But if you can't land
No.
nav, and you can't and you work together as a team, it doesn't matter. That's all just a buy-in. It doesn't matter. You should show up being fit. That should
Oh,
be
sure.
that's it. Like, I tell people the gates, it's just a PT test. Like, if you can crush the PT test, you'll be fine. But there's more that goes into it. But people are like, they're focused on the easy part, the physical stuff, and they forget about all of the mental grind and game in the rest of it. So I'm sure you
Yeah.
see the same thing.
Yeah, some of my best kids that move on from here, young or old, were just grinded things out. Had 10 years of wrestling under their belt, just rugged little kids. And then they worked like construction or landscaping, and then they would show up before work with us, do our morning workout, and they would take a lunch break and get their swim in and then go back to work. And just, I mean, that's the type of grind that you have to kind of get your body and mind used to, because that's what a day's like. I mean, there's no 30-minute gym routine that's going to prepare you for a day of spec ops training, right? You got to learn how to live a day of action, because that's what your day is going to be. You might not be working out, but you're moving. You're on your feet doing something. So,
Yeah. I think that's why. Well, I don't even think you guys have a. Do you guys have a pipeline from the regular? What's it called? Like, regular Navy,
regular
inside
Navy.
the.
Yeah, there's nothing inside the Navy that prepares you for buds.
Yeah.
There's not a necessarily pipeline for it, but the way it works is you would enlist, go to boot camp, get out of shape at Navy boot camp, because it's just, I mean, you may run 8 to 10 miles in 8 weeks when you're at Navy boot camp. It's not a physically challenging event. There are some SEALs there now that are, helping them with some additional workouts. So that's available. So at least they can maintain some fitness. And then they go straight to buds, but it's a prep course. You got like 8 weeks of prep. You got a little buds orientation for a couple of weeks, and then you start first phase. And that's where the hammer drops. Usually you got a couple hundred people in the prep class, and then by the time you get to first phase, those 200 people, within a month are down to 50. So that's kind of our selection
Yeah.
process, I guess you would say, the first 4 weeks, because after that it becomes more of a qualification course where there's a lot more tactics involved. There's dive school, dive phase, there's land nav, shooting, explosives, all that stuff. So in in the buds 6-month course, it really is kind of like a selection Q course pipeline. They just call it one school. You're just there for 6 months. You get it over with. And then after that, you got another 6 months of what they call SEAL qualification training, where, that's probably more a legitimate qualification course. You're no longer treated like a Bud student. You're actually treated like a Buds graduate who is now, trying to get qualified and get your Trident, just like you would, be getting your Green Beret. So it's similar. It's about a year. I'd say it's about a year and a month, year and 2 months maybe, from
So
start to finish. By the time you start day one after boot camp to getting your Trident.
now, is that primarily people coming off the street into that, or is there a way through the regular Navy into that?
Yeah, there's a way. I mean, they have lateral transfers from the fleet to go in, and you would just start, with everybody else there in that prep course. But usually that prep course is filled with unprepared teenagers who just came right off the street and really have no business being there, in my opinion. But they're just so ill prepared, so immature that they don't even know what they don't know, and um, that's a majority of the attrition right there. I would say if we capped it at 20 to go in, I would bet we would probably drop attrition rates by 50%.
Hmm.
Increase, I get, drop attrition, by 50%. Increase graduation by 50%. Because teenagers make up the bulk of it.
Yeah, I imagine.
But
For
think
us,
about
it's
it.
18
Yeah, think about
X-rays.
it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm for failure because you're 18 years old, you just graduated high school. You make it through boot camp. You start boot camp there in January. You've passed a PST, so physically you're probably pretty good to go. Because you have to pass the PST before you go to boot camp in order to have a buds billet afterwards. Then they show up and they're in a location where it's a new town for most of them. It's a new city, new environment. They're looking around, seeing 25-year-old men in the same class as they are, and they're like, "Oh man, what am I doing here?" So there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome that starts right up from the front, and then your girlfriend breaks up with you. You're looking at your cell phone, and your last post that you just made was about your high school prom, and there's just this lack of immaturity that is common amongst 17, 18-year olds, that I think we do them a disservice in my opinion, of sending them to bud so early. Yeah, there are a handful of people who graduate every class at 18 years old, right? But what they don't show you are the 100 people for those 5 guys that graduated that did make it.
Yeah. Where do the washouts go? Just needs of the
Um,
fleet?
yeah, a lot of times needs of the fleet. It depends on how far they make it through those first 4 weeks. Like if they get into Hell Week and something happens mentally or physically or whatever that causes them to not make it through, a lot of times they'll offer them another job within the community like SWIC or EOD, diver, so you can still do something somewhat challenging. But if you're quitting during prep, which a significant amount do, if you're quitting, within the first week, you're probably going to go to the needs of the Navy, and that's usually on a ship somewhere as an undesignated seaman, which means you don't have a job, so you're going to be, cleaning toilets and shipping paint and things like that, which is
Yep. For us, it's 18 X-ray. You're an infantryman, and you're probably going to the 82nd Airborne these days, at least. The 82nd Airborne. When the program first started, uh, they were just slamming people into that, and then they would wash out, and 82nd is like they couldn't take anymore, so they were sending them to Alaska, Italy. Where else were they going? Hawaii, I think,
wow.
and stuff like that. But yeah, because it was just a tremendous amount of people failing because it's a
Like
new program.
infantry, they would go into the infantry program.
So 18 X-rays enlists civilian, go to basic training as for one site unit training. So you're going to be an
Right.
infantryman when you
Right.
graduate basic training. And then you go to brag and start the preparatory
Right.
course. In 2004-ish, the preparatory course kind of changed from prep course to a hazing sort of more model, and became very, very, very brutal from
Mm.
2004 to 2009 or 10. It's still it's rough. It's very difficult, but, there's a mood, the cadre where there's war going on, fear of missing out, and they get stuck with these civilians that think they want to be Green Berets. People are dying. There's this whole there's attitude sort of shift at that time. So it was a brutal thing to go through, but people dropping like flies. They still do. And
Sure.
now this has always been, but now it's even more of a, kids can't get airborne contracts. Oh, well, I'll enlist as an 18 extra and I'll quit after airborne. So the
Yeah, I've
attrition
heard about
numbers
that
are
one.
wildly inaccurate for
Yeah.
us, who's going to make it through and things like that. And some people just stick it out until they get to brag. Some people don't. It's this wild thing. But I, interested, if I get to a level where I can sit behind a closed door and actually see the real numbers, would be interesting to see. But from my point of view, they just throw as much shit as they can at the wall and hope it sticks. For now, they're going to have to change how things doing, because they're not making enough Green Berets to survive the regiment as it is right now. But
Wow.
we'll see. Some of that goes with recruiting. That's the only thing I am pretty much staunchly negative about on this show, is our recruiting content for social media sucks. But
Hmm,
I have seen promise in the last few weeks out of our Soft's Instagram page. They've been making some nice videos and stuff like that. But
that's cool.
as far as Swick, the schoolhouse at Swick, our content's terrible. Rangers are the best. Marines classically have been great at media.
Yeah.
Nobody beats them. Billboards and fucking all this other shit,
Yeah.
pamphlets, people coming to your school doing pull-ups. I
Cool
mean,
uniforms.
cool, the best uniforms.
Yeah.
SEALs, got to give it to the SEALs, the first to the market, for the first to recognize that social media is going to be the way forward, and then cornering the entire thing and pushing us out. People fail to understand that. Oh, all these Navy SEALs write a book. I go, that's fucking marketing, you dickhead. Like, we didn't. We're late to the table, and numbers are showing it now with what we did. So as I see more and learn more about the social media space, I go, we're so far behind everybody.
Yeah, that's an interesting point of view. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah,
My hand
that's
is
where
surgically
it's where the
attached to my
youngins are.
phone.
Yeah,
It is.
I remember getting my Instagram, and I didn't want to do it, but my eighth grade daughter at the time said, "Dad, you need to get an Instagram. That's where all the kids are. They're not on Facebook anymore." I said, "Damn, I just figured out Facebook." So I got to get an Instagram. And now I've just learned that, with this, if you want to be relevant, you need to have a presence on as many platforms as possible, because that's where you're going to find people. I mean, think about how people shop now. Yeah, people still shop the internet and look on the Google machine and pull up something, but a lot of times, they see an ad up on social media and they're like, boom, that's what I'm getting right there. So now it's kind of evolved into this, you know, mix of search engine, store, entertainment, education platform for all of us. And I will say this: if I wasn't in business, I probably wouldn't be on it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's annoying enough to where I wouldn't do it if it wasn't so important for business.
It's just how
So
it is now, though.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
something you have to know.
and
And
coaching, as a coach, you need it.
oh,
If you
absolutely.
if you want to reach more people as a someone who has some information to share, a younger generation, you got to do it this way.
The and back to, the SEALs,
Hmm.
Marines, and the Rangers really have a stranglehold on things. We're in the back of the pack, and it's disappointing, because the Army, they have all these outlines. Because you'll see, I've interviewed people that was one guy was on the Army gaming team. Like, why does the Army have a gaming team? Well, it's just to get the word Army out there so people see it. The Marines have it plastered everywhere. They've for 50 years have had billboards and all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
the Army knows how to do these things. It's just the phrase quiet professional destroyed our chances of getting into the market when this did become a thing.
Wow.
And I was talking to somebody about Memorial Day. Navy SEALs own Memorial Day. It is their
Oh,
holiday
yeah, the
now.
Murph. The
Yeah.
Murph. Yeah.
And I
Memorial Day
debate people
Murph.
on
Yeah.
this. I go, there's no wrestling away Murph
Wow.
from the fitness community. It can't be done. It would take such a UW campaign, and you'd have to go negative that you would make yourself look bad. I'm like, we got to find a different holiday, guys. You know.
Wow.
So there's so much shit that goes into this, and it goes. We got to ditch quiet professionals. We need to just be professionals, and and there's a lot of my peers that are starting to recognize that and doing a good job, but it's a long game to be positive. To be positive and make a thing, to make a name for yourself and your brand, that's a long game. You're going to take a while doing that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah, because I mean, if you're just a guy rattling off negativity on your social media platform, you know, why would anybody want to go join that group? So I always
Yeah.
tell people, I say, be positive, be realistic at the same time. Don't, feed people a pipe dream, but at the same time, it's all doable. You just got to have the right mindset and right time. Give yourself some time to prepare. Don't jump into these journeys just because you turn 18. Actually join when you're ready. And like you said earlier, when will you know you're ready? You may not ever know you're ready. You got to send it at some point. But um, I've always put it this way: you kind of know when you're ready if you have a group of people you're training around, and they see you as the go-to guy. Like it's funny because I've had guys that have worked out with me for a year and a half, right? And they start off and they're wrestling shin splints the first month, right? They're just barely running. And the next year they're like the most improved, and then like 6 months after that they're just kicking everybody's ass, right? Because it's this constant cycle of new guys and old guys, leaving, and then they go crush the training, and then that shows everybody else that was there, oh, he can do it, I can do it. Takes away that little bit of that impossibility factor, that I think a lot of people go into this with. And if you can do that and know somebody who's kind of been down that road before and done it, it does help with that impossibility factor, and you have more confidence going into it and saying, you know what, I am ready. I'm doing just the same as that guy was. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
It's going to be hard. It's going to
Yeah.
suck. No
Yeah.
matter what, it's going to
Yeah.
hurt. And uh, what is the one? It's better to sometimes it's better to not have any talent so that you can learn how to do it correctly than to kind of know what you're doing and do it wrong and hurt yourself or hurt your chances of being successful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about shooting, doing land nav, and scuba diving before you go into the military. If you think about it, like, do you want to do all those things and maybe create some bad habits that you're going to have to be retaught how to do them? Or do you want a little familiarity with them and go into it with, okay, I've done this before. This isn't rocket science. I can do this. I need to learn. I still need to learn and be able to, you know, perform those skills to the instructor's level um, that he's expecting. But yeah, so it was a good little debate we had, because I scuba dived for 10 years before I joined the military. Thought it gave me an edge in dive phase. But there was a dude next to me, grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, never even seen the ocean before when he showed up to Buds. And I remember the day he walked out there and was just in awe, and it was kind of fun to see. And then, never put a regulator in his mouth, never been scuba diving, and he crushes second phase, no problem. I was like, well, there goes my theory of needing to be a 10 years patty scuba diver.
You can, I think I've said on here a lot, the people that are going to graduate, they're going to pass no matter what. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they don't know how to do it. I, you know, our phase. I think the pinnacle of our selection is the land nav. It's where everything comes together. That's in the middle for us for selection. The gates, if you don't show up and you're not physically fit, there's no point in being there. So we got to have the gates. And then team week, if you can just get yourself to not quit. Everybody sucks. The whole thing sucks. So get over it, you know. But land
Yeah.
nav here, it's dark and you're by yourself. You got to make decisions and stay calm. But again, people ask me, do I need to do this? Do that? I said, they taught me everything I needed to know about land nav at selection. It's really
Yeah.
one of the only things that they tell you at selection on how to pass is they
Right.
tell you how to do it. Going out there, that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would recommend, you know, at least knowing how to pick up a firearm. And but there's a lot of these civilian marksmanship programs out there that are way better than what you'll find in the military.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely. They sent us to civilian marksmanship schools.
yeah, guys are
Yeah.
got their own classes
Yeah.
set up. They're doing the professional because they can keep up with it and just be training all the time. Where
Yeah.
God, we can't even get our local police force to train
Mm.
once a month or anything like that. So there's there's definitely an advantage to working in the private sector on some of those things.
Yeah, that's true.
90% of the military never shoot their firearm more than once a year. So
Definitely.
everything's got it for us. You know, you should be shooting a lot and taking advantage of everything. But that's once you're in the pipeline. I don't tell you don't need to know jack shit. You don't need to know fucking anything. People are like, oh, do I need to know infantry skills to go to the Q course? I got listen, man. When I graduated, I didn't know infantry skills when I graduated. You know, I didn't know shit. I
That's
just
funny.
went through. I did what they told me to do. I did it in the field, and then I graduated. The pipeline. You don't need to know anything. They tell you exactly what you need to do. All
Yeah.
you got to know how to show up in your uniform. That's it. Right time, right place, right uniform. They'll tell you the rest of it.
Yeah. That's the biggest part. Just being there, being able to do it, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
able to do it.
And be
Yeah,
able to learn quickly because you are going to be learn new skills taught through a fire hose, and you got to be able to recreate those skills for the instructor's liking. But once again, it's not that hard. It's if you have any ability to learn, you're going to pick it up. So that's what washes some people out. But I'd say most people just are ill prepared physically.
have you seen a
You know.
difference? Because you've been doing, what did your Instagram say, 25 plus years? Have
Yeah.
you, that puts you the entirety of the global war on terror. So you've seen every type of recruit come through from motivation for country to now I saw
Yeah.
some ads on Instagram and I think this will be fun. So have you seen a difference in the ability? Because the kids today, they don't drink and they're more into fitness and
Yeah.
things like that. But I had a couple people, you know, I think probably your generation and maybe a little older, is they've told me a couple times, they go, you guys are so much fucking bigger than we were. Holy shit.
Mm.
And I go, yeah, I mean, there's more
Yeah, I would
emphasis on
agree with that.
strength now.
Yeah, I would say, nutrition, strength, training, all that has evolved tremendously, especially in the 80s and 90s when I was, preparing. Um, but I would say this: it's fun to work out with these young guys because they're all the same conversations we used to have in the 80s and 90s. They're just different faces doing it. They're the same
Everything's the
people.
same.
They're the same people, same funny conversations, cracking on each other, and everybody's pushing each other to work harder. Iron sharpens iron, and that's a fun place to be in, right? And I have seen that for the last 25 years. I mean, maybe it is, but the way I coach, I want them to do that, so I kind of guide them into that kind of mindset. Um, but I have rarely seen many people who want to show up consistently. And when I say consistently, I mean in the cold, in the heat, 5:30 in the morning, 6 days a week. And um, rarely do I see people who are self-involved in that kind of setting that we've created. Maybe, when they come in for their first one, they're a little bit iffy, a little sketchy, but they quickly turn around into understanding that even though we're all preparing for different things, we're all kind of a team trying to get through this workout. And there are events that require partners. We're doing fireman carries and we're doing stretcher carries and things like that require some. We got logs and boats, and so we make it a team effort, and people learn real quick not to duck their head under a boat long before they go. And it's just fun. I haven't seen a big difference, to be honest with you, other than um, like you mentioned, their physicality is, I think, higher and better. I think when I was younger, and our generation, we did things and burned ourselves out really quickly because of the lack of understanding of what recovery even was. I had no idea sleep made you better, right? I had no idea that, I knew I needed to eat well, to perform well. That I think we understood, but I had no idea how important sleep was, or how even not drinking was. You know, um, how drinking interferes with your sleep. All these guys know that. So when they do drink, it's on occasion versus Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? I think we were a little bit crazier with some of the social activities.
I think the best sport that there is in high school is wrestling. And
Mm-hmm.
but prior to I don't know, 2005, 2010, probably the worst sport for you health wise,
Mm,
um, because those are the years you're supposed to be putting on muscle and getting bigger
right. Yeah,
and you
they're
are just
cutting weight.
starving yourself.
Yeah.
And when I got done with that, I said, never again. I'm never gonna cut weight ever again for any reason. So I eat. If I get bigger, I get bigger. That's fine, whatever. And I have. I just I go, man, I might have fucked up some stuff by starving myself for 6 months a year every year for
It's
4
possible.
years.
It's
But
possible for sure. I mean, some of those wrestlers definitely have stunted growth. I
yeah,
mean, it's just the way it is. Especially my generation. Um, yeah, I remember I started wrestling in eighth grade. Because you had to be on this eighth grade team to be able to start wrestling in the ninth grade, right? So I wrestled ninth, eighth, ninth, and 10th grade. And I was going to go out for my junior year, but guess what? They brought into the high school. We brought in a powerlifting team. I said, wait a second. You mean I can go in the gym and lift weights and get a letter as like I'm playing a sport? I'm like, I'm all in. So I didn't wrestle anymore, and I started powerlifting, which completely screwed up my foot. Or no, was great for football because I didn't have to lose weight and gain weight again. But it screwed up my baseball. I was a catcher. I couldn't even throw anymore after clean jerks and bench
really.
press. Yeah, yeah. My throws sucked. Um, so I wound up just saying, well, I'm gonna keep getting bigger and stronger and go throw the shot put instead of a baseball. And so I played track my junior senior year instead of baseball. So I went from football, wrestling, and baseball to football, powerlifting, and track. My years, I was always busy. I mean, there was nothing else to do where I grew up but play sports and do stuff like that. But yeah, I think athletic history is very important. I will say this: my athletic history didn't really go well with joining the military. I thought long distance was that mile and a half I had to do. Um, and, push ups were fine, pull ups were fine. You know, I failed my first PT test when I was a midshipman at the academy freshman year. Maxed my second one though, because I just learned how to do it. Lost some weight, learned how to do it, and tried to play football at Navy. Didn't make the team. Wound up playing rugby for 4 years, and
Oof.
uh, and that was fun. That was a good transition. And then I started working out with people that wanted to go to Buds and wanted to be Marines, and so then I started evolving into that more spec ops hybrid athlete versus just a powerlifting football player.
Okay.
But it took a little time. Took a little time to transition out of that. Uh, but it was fun. I knew I didn't need to lift. I was strong enough as it is going into this journey. So I did triathlon training and calisthenics for about a year just to turn myself into an endurance athlete versus the power athlete.
I did CrossFit my second time through. Um, my first train up, the military tried to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately tried to kill me. I got sick, and they fucked up the treatment
Damn.
over and over. I was in and out of the hospital I signed up to go in September, and I was supposed to go in January, and in November, all of November, I was very, very ill, and I'm convinced they're like, we're gonna kill this dude, and luckily I got to the right emergency room, and they figured out what was wrong with me, and so I think I pushed it too hard that month, and
Mm.
I went to selection with an injured knee, and then halfway through I couldn't bend my leg anymore because
Oh
it
yeah.
started hurting pretty much right as I hit that sand. And you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, what the fuck is this? For, day one, Jimmy's out there. He runs a 9-something 2 mile. And I go, I've never seen anything like that before. Like,
Yeah, that's
what
insane.
in the
I,
fuck?
I
Am
will
I
say
in the
this
right
though.
place?
I will say this though. People who like blow something away usually have an equal and opposite weakness.
Nope. No, he didn't.
No, that guy
Nope.
didn't. I'm just saying,
He,
usually it does.
and I was tossed because I had to learn what 18 X-rays were, and because I'm private too. The X-rays and they got shaved heads. They look like little Nazis, and they're in their little group, and they've got all the information. I didn't know. I go there. Okay, what are you guys doing here? We're 18 X-rays. I was like, oh, I heard about you guys from the recruiter, and they're telling me stuff, and I'm like, what's up with that guy? I was like, oh, Jimmy, he's he's a phenomenon. I was like, what about rucking? They're like, doesn't matter. He'll run the same speed. It's
Damn.
unbelievable. And so, he
Yeah,
went,
that's rare. That's rare.
yeah. But you'd run into guys like that. But
Yeah.
people ask me, I trained up the second time, a lot more focus on my legs and my back. I knew what to prepare for. And CrossFit
Smart.
was the easy thing because my leadership, they would let me go at lunch to do
Oh,
whatever I
nice.
wanted. So I went to CrossFit gym. So you'd have to be the PT at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. I had to be the PT, and we would do that. And that was a waste of time. I couldn't get out of that. But at lunch, they would let me go do whatever I wanted. And then I would go after work again because I had it unlimited. And I would do both the workouts, the lunch and the dinner. So it worked out for me doing that. But you don't have to be strong. Uh,
No, no.
there's
You need to have a strength background. I would say my endurance guys who come into this journey, they have a hard time doing pull-ups at first,
You
and
got to be able
then
to do 6 pull-ups. Yep. You
yeah,
gotta,
and then they're really quick on the muscle stamina. The muscle stamina just skyrockets real fast, but the strength takes a little more time for most of them. Um,
yeah.
Especially if they're a cross country runner or a swimmer or triathlete. Those guys are like cardio machines that, are used to running 60, 70 miles a week. Well, I usually just shut them down to about 25 a week and just make them lift more.
That sounds terrible. That all
Yeah.
sounds, those
Yeah.
numbers are
Yeah.
so ridiculous. I run like 3 miles a week. And then
Well,
I
these are
only
all
train.
candidates. These are
Yeah,
all
I know.
candidates.
I
Once
know.
you're in the game and you're operating, it's a completely different set of standards that
Oh, the
you
one
need to keep up.
do you guys have to deal with this? Is like trying to convince kids don't put on all this muscle. You do
Oh,
not need to get big like the people you see in group. They're in group. That's a whole different animal.
oh
Once you're
yeah,
there, figure that shit out. Because
yeah,
I tell kids, this is you're gonna fail if you show up looking like this because
yeah,
this is a lot of weight that you got to haul around plus all that other
yeah,
shit. You're setting yourself
yeah.
up for failure. This is
I mean,
unhealthy.
just doing obstacle courses at 220 plus is like your grip just falls apart, and rucking and running. You're already rucking for most people. You know what I
Ugh.
mean? If you're a 200-pound dude, you got a 40-pound ruck on. That's what you carry around all the time.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, somebody
So yeah,
pointed
I
out for
always
me
tell
the
them
other
to
day
be a little
the heart
lighter.
too. Your heart's the same size as a normal person. You got to fuel all that muscle.
Yeah,
Um,
knees
yeah,
aren't
because
built any different.
no, no, but you can make them stronger. So I mean,
You can.
I drive up. The more weight I seem to put on my, the more weight I can back squat, the better I feel. Uh, and
Cool.
especially because the VA claims that there's nothing wrong with my hip. Well, then I'm like, why does it hurt then? I'm like, well, we don't know. I don't know. Okay,
Mobility
well,
training, my friend. Need to get on mobility day once a week.
I
You know
started.
what we do? You know what we do in the middle of the week? In the middle of the week, even my young guys who don't need mobility training for the same reasons I do, they need it just for swimming purposes, like we mentioned earlier. But here's what you do: go into the gym.
Go to
Five, right.
www.stewsmithfitness.com.
This is free information. I have an article about it. You could look up Mobility Day, Stu Smith. You could see exactly how I break it down. But here's what I do: 5 minutes of cardio, non-impact. So biking, rowing, elliptical, whatever floats your boat. Swimming, you can do swimming too. And then you do 5 minutes of stretching or foam rolling, massage tooling, and you repeat that for the next 5, 6 sets. So it's going to take you an hour to get that done. So 5 minutes of cardio, 5 minutes of stretching, foam rolling. And usually what I do is I break up the body into little segments. So I'll do feet to knees the first set, right? Whenever I'm off the bike. And then I'll do knees to hips the second set. And then I'll do hips to lower back third set. And then I'll do the whole torso the fourth set, shoulders, arms, fifth set. And that has been life changing, not only for me, but I can see it with people struggling with swimming, struggling with treading water, getting a tight, streamlined position, all those things, and turning a 500-yard swim into something that's efficient. Um, that is where people benefit. The younger folks benefit from the mobility day. I benefit from it because I'm not running that day and just kind of licking my wounds from previous workouts, and it works really well. I started it 11 years ago, and 11 years ago I thought I was done running at 45. I was my hips hurt, lower back hurt, knees hurt. I mean, everything was jacked up. So I just started figuring out I needed some non-impact day. So let me do this non-impact day. I mixed some yoga with it. Next thing I know, I evolved it into this 5 minute on, 5 minute off thing because uh, an hour of biking was boring, an hour of yoga was boring. So I just created this something for my ADH brain uh, that allowed me to create this 5 minute on, 5 minute off routine that I've been doing for 11 years now, and it makes all the difference. I'm still running. Ran 6 on
maybe
Monday, 2 yesterday. Yeah.
maybe I could because I'm on a 6 day split with no seventh day. I just start the 6 days over after six. So maybe I could add a seventh day uh
Tell you,
instead
man,
of just going
life
a
life
6 day
changing,
week.
life changing. I'm telling you. If
I'm
you learn nothing else from me today, add that mobility day. Just try
all
it.
right. Sold.
Just try it.
Sold.
Just
They
try
just
it.
got a rower. They just got a rower at the Y, so I can go do a little bit in the pool and then
Yeah.
go get on the rower and
Yeah.
stretch. So
Usually, what I do when I'm swimming it is I'll swim for 5 minutes. I'll stay in the shallow end and I'll do all the dynamic stretches that I can think of from like butt kickers, Frankenstein walk, side steps. in the shallow water, like chest deep. So I'm just running in place, you know, just doing all those little things. That's a big one. That goes right to the hips, especially if you're
Yeah.
doing leg swings or um, side to side, front and back, butt kickers, all those things. Goes right to the hips. You'll feel it deep.
Yeah,
Tell you, man.
everything that you're not doing is probably something you should be doing.
Yeah, yeah. I've always heard that. Like the best workout is probably the one you're not doing.
Well, for me, it's
Yeah.
overhead press is my weakest, so I've tried to do it more,
Yeah.
and you know everything's going to get stronger if you work your weakest lift.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, I don't need to do squat as much as I used to. I do some other stuff, and it's still going up, but I don't squat as much because it's kind of it's extremely heavy and can be
Yeah.
dangerous if I'm by myself. But I don't bench as much as because I'm not focused on driving them up, and I don't deadlift as much. But I'll do the other stuff, work some other stuff, and you see movement there, and you get stronger. It's a whole systemic thing. So but I'm at a weird point. It's all uncharted territory. Training myself, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I need to add that in there, and I'm refining what I'm doing and what my goals are. But I set a goal at the beginning of the year. Um, I want to all in on a running clock, bench 4 plates, squat 5 plates, deadlift 6 plates, and run a mile all in 6 minutes, less than 6 minutes.
Do that whole thing?
Yeah, yeah. So
Jeez. Good
I
Lord.
want. I've now modified it. I'm going to do a 1,500 pound total, and I'm going to run a mile in 6 minutes total
Woo.
from start to finish. So, I every everything I do is
Geared towards
to
that.
suffer for 5 minutes because the lifts they're there, but I've got this. I've been watching your stuff, and I go, oh, okay, I can use that. But I made up this one. For me extremely painful. I do breaststroke. One, my fucking shoulder, I can't recover from it. But so I do breaststroke. So it's 5 down and backs as fast as I can go. That takes me 4.5 minutes, and then I get 4.5 minutes of rest. And then the second one is 8 down and back, eight laps, and then I get 4 minutes of rest. And then it's 3, and I get three
Nice.
minutes of rest, and then it's 2, and I get 2 minutes of rest, and the last one's just 1. That one's the easiest one because it's over right away. But then
Yeah.
then I'm done, and that's it sucks the whole way through. And so
Yeah,
I
that's a
was
good
use that
workout.
one. But those over unders that you posted, I've been working up to that. I'm down to I can do the 25 and then up back, and then I'm at 2 minutes for the whole until I start the next one. So I do a minute,
That's not bad.
and then
Yeah.
I got a minute rest, and then I go again.
That's
And
nice.
we're probably going to stay there for the rest of my life because that's
No, that's
extremely,
solid.
extremely painful.
It's a good little lung burner for sure. It's good challenge. And technique with the underwaters help with that. It's if you can get really good with the underwater technique, it's like walking and holding your breath. Right? It's literally not as hard as a lot of people make it because a lot of people are doing their underwaters, they're just cranking out strokes versus gliding more. And the
For
glide is the
everybody
key.
listening, for
Glide is the
everybody
king.
listening at home, he's lying. It is as hard as everybody makes it out to. Fuck
Gliding is
that.
key. Gliding is
Yeah.
key. I do that 25 and 4 strokes.
No.
Yeah, I do big double arm pull, hold that glide, kick and recover, hold that glide. I'm almost halfway across the pool. Um, yeah, about 4 strokes. Some guys do it in 3. That's efficient.
I've got to say, I can
Most
make it
guys do
down.
10.
I can make it down in 8 or 9, I think.
Yeah. Imagine cutting
Uh,
that in half and just gliding more.
the, the kid next
Huge.
to me, I go, God, that's whatever. But uh, whatever. One guy messaged me. He's like, I could help you with get better. I was like, I'm not out to get better in the pool, man. I'm out to punish myself.
You know what? That's funny because we do a lot of freestyle swimming just for the conditioning effect of it. And people say, you know how to help me with the freestyle? I'm like, I don't care about freestyle. We don't ever test it. We don't ever use it. I want you to suck at it so bad that you're winded with a 25, right? So you just like beating up the water for 25, 50 yards, and then you try to catch your breath with a CSS, combat side stroke. Um, that's a good way to get your heart rate and train some efficiency at the same time. Um, but for you with your bad shoulder, I can't tell you how many people I have taught the combat swimmer stroke who had bad shoulders, like triathletes who still wanted to compete. They couldn't do freestyle anymore. So I taught them side stroke. And so their top arm's their good arm. Their bottom arm's like this little breaststroke skull versus a full stroke. And it works really well for people with a bum shoulder.
Hmm.
One bum shoulder. Can't have two of them, but one
I
for sure.
I like my breaststroke. You talked about, you said earlier about fucked up kicking. Man, I got to get a video when when I get some cash. I'm gonna get a video camera so I can make some content in the pool. But I've got this fucked up frog kick slash like what's the one where you dive over the top the
Like a
stroke, the
dolphin,
butterfly, like the
dolphin kick.
butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
it's
dolphin
a
kick.
I do a kick and then I do a wave at the end to just keep myself more above the water because man, I'm sinking. I'm
That's
sinking
common.
so.
That's
Okay.
common. I like doing a breaststroke with a little dolphin. In fact,
Oh, okay.
that's how I do my underwaters. I'll kick off the wall, double arm pull, and then I'll kick and recover with a breaststroke kick, hold that glide, and then I'll throw a little dolphin in there right before I do the double arm pull.
I don't feel so bad now. I don't feel so bad.
Yeah. Look,
Okay. I thought
I'm a non-swimming athlete as well. I just happen to coach a bunch of non-swimming athletes as well. Um, so I think some of the worst advice I've ever gotten from swimming and running um, was from a swim coach and from a running coach. Because what are they used to coaching? Right? They're used to coaching kids who swim all the time. They got great technique, and they're used to coaching 150-pound runners or less that have no upper body mass. And they're different. They're different breeds. Like you can't tell the same thing to a 210-pound dude, D1 lacrosse player, that you can tell a 145-pound cross country kid about running. Right? It's a different process, and it's a different method. They already got the fast twitch stuff going. We just got to work on some good little slow twitch and work on that aerobic base, and then learn how to maintain a pace. Right? So it's just a little bit different. I'm not knocking running coaches and swimming coaches because they're great at what they do, but they also don't coach non-runners and non-swimmers.
you could apply that to anything.
Yeah.
And I use the healthcare. Like unless you're going to a doctor that understands hormones, they
Mhm.
don't know anything about what they're talking about at all. They're going to get off
Yeah.
out of your meeting and go Google shit because they don't learn it. Unless you're talking to a sports and medicine physiotherapist or PT, they're not going to be able to help you. They're gonna give you some stuff that's probably going to hurt you. So unless you're going to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about and has taught you specifically, then that if I wanted a coach to teach me how to swim at my size, I'd want to find somebody that's like that has done that, like
That is big.
that is big
That's
and
done
good
it
at
himself.
swimming. Like,
Yeah.
you understand what it's like to sit at the bottom of the pool and go, man, this
Yeah.
sucks down here.
When you got so much muscle mass that you can do push-ups on the bottom of the pool, you're a different breed of swimmer.
Yeah,
No.
I'll be down there with that weight, and then I'll set the weight down and just stand there. Like, man, bobbing's real easy
Oh,
for me.
same.
Yeah,
Floating sucks.
Yep.
Floating is like drowning for me. It's just like you're constantly dolphin kicking, especially if you're doing like a drown proof drill with your
Yeah.
feet tied and your hands behind your back. I mean, you're just constantly kicking to keep your head up in that float position. Yeah.
Why all those sports in school, then why go into the Naval Academy? You said Naval Academy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Good
Because
question.
is it the same process as West Point
West Point.
is for us?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
In fact, I was considering both. I knew I wanted to serve after college. I just didn't know in what capacity. But I also wanted to play college sports. So my goal was to play college football and become a jet pilot, right? When I was an 18-year-old kid trying to go to the Naval Academy, I was like, well, Top Gun just came out a few years before that.
Mm.
That probably triggered that thought. And so that's what I wanted to do. That's kind of reason why I went to the Naval Academy to become a fighter pilot. And then I wound up not making the football team and not becoming a pilot. So it was just weird circumstances kind of guided me in other directions, and it is what it is.
Where along the process did buds come into it for you while going through school? Because you guys come in as junior officers into the pipeline, right?
Yeah, we're O1s when we come in. So
Okay.
like a second lieutenant, ensign they call it in the Navy. Um, yeah, the we I would say sophomore year I started preparing like I wanted to go to buds.
Okay.
And it was largely because we had four dudes on our team that went to buds. They all made it. I'm like, oh, yeah, they can do it. I can do that. That sounds like a fun job, and that looks pretty cool. I kind of don't want to be a pilot anymore, so I was like, it was either Marines or SEALs. I was kind of floating between the two, and we had a bunch of guys on the team that also went Marines, and they loved their job, so it was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say it was a coin flip, but it was. I thought if I could just prepare well enough, I could go to either. So it was kind of like a first option, second option type of thing. And I wasn't a very good candidate my first SEAL PT. They'd have these like 515 SEAL PTs over at the academy run by the SEAL that was stationed there, and he just like kick our butts. And it was a hard taste of what it was like, especially if you're new to that. I mean, I was last on the run. I was, didn't finish the push up and the pull up workout that everybody was doing. But I showed up the next time they did it, and the next time, and the next time. Next thing I know, 6 months later, I'm actually hanging with everybody. I'm still not beating anybody yet, but I'm still hanging with everybody. And then that was a fun challenge. I sucked at it, and I wanted to get better at it, and that's where it all started. And I kind of like the grind. I kind of like the guys that were there doing it. They were good examples what I needed to be, to be a better midshipman, better officer. And yeah, kind of went that direction. And glad I did. It was fun.
Did you have, I guess, did you have an idea of what you were getting yourself into as far as buds and the course was concerned, or was it all just getting you physically ready?
Yeah, not really. I didn't. I mean, I heard like little tales of what it was like. There was no internet back then. There were no books.
And nobody comes
Um,
back either, right? They all go and they're gone.
well, every now and then you would. You'd get some guys that would come back, talk to the team.
Okay.
That were like 5 years before. They were on the team before you, but they would come back and talk and share their exploits of getting through buds and stuff. And there'd be like 100 stupid questions that we would all ask, and you know,
Always.
and they were so patient with us and like talked us through everything. And they say, "Look, man, you guys can do this. You just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be surprised at what you learn while you're here and how much tougher you get by these extra couple of years of focusing on this training. And so I think taking the impossibility factor away was is probably the most empowering thing that you can do as a coach and mentor to somebody. And then
Yeah.
they see it as a possibility in their world, and it completely drives what they do every single day after that. So
Yeah. It's well, we have a hard line. It's called selection, right? That is the only course that's not designed for you to pass. You're there to be assessed. Everything
yeah,
else, they teach you exactly what you need to know to pass, and then you just have to duplicate that when it comes time for your practical exercise or your exam or your look or whatever you want to call it. Selection, you're there to be assessed. But it's not, they're not designed to hurt you or to make you fail. If you got to see if you measure up. That's why I regard our selection for me as the greatest achievement of my military career. Showing up, not knowing what they're looking for, and just saying, all right, do I have what it takes? All right, here's your sheet of paper. All right, now all I got to do is do what the instructors tell me to do, and I should be okay. But I like the impossibility factor. It's all possible. Otherwise, they there's no
nobody
point
would
in
make it.
doing it. Nobody would make it. There's no point
Yeah.
in having these things. And people make it with, what is it? Somebody messaged me the other day. You don't need to know how to swim to be a diver. I said, oh, okay. Well, that doesn't help me because I can't swim either. So, but and that ship has sailed. Or hopefully nobody will ever call me on my bullshit about going down to Key West. I,
Oh,
that is that
that's
is
funny.
a nightmare scenario if they go, "Hey Nick, you want to come down and shoot some content?" Because I'm gonna say, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do it." And the whole drive down there, I'm gonna be like, "This is gonna just so badly. It's just gonna be so bad." But so you get out, you go to Buds, and I mean you're 22 years old, right? So
Yeah.
and you're just like
23
what
when I finished Buds,
20
yeah.
23. I think I was 23. Yeah, I was 23 when I joined the military. I think I was 25 when I got selected or something like that. 24, 25. But um, so got to be a weird because everybody's pretty much the same age, right? Are there outliers that are older coming in
Yeah, there are a
prior
few
service?
guys that are older. Few guys that are older. I think the oldest we had in our class was like 27, and
So that's not old. That's
the youngest was 17. Youngest was 17, and a dude graduated. Not only graduated the honor man. Like the best dude was this 18-year-old kid, and we're like incredible. And but he was. I mean, that's the kind of kids that if you're going to be a teenager, I mean, this kid was a renaissance man, and he didn't even know it yet. And he wound up going to the academy, at 20 as he'd been a SEAL for a couple of years and got an opportunity to go to the Naval Academy wearing a trident.
oh,
And not only did he just crush the academy, that dude had it was a double major, had like a 3.8 grade point average, played a sport, and was in a band. I mean, dude was just incredible. And then he wound up doing another 15 years as an officer in the teams, and yeah, quite, yeah, very impressive, very impressive. But that's the kind of teenagers that tend to make those courses. If you get a teenager to make it, they're usually pretty squared away. You know.
yeah. You hear that story, and it's that's awesome to hear. I do worry about because everybody's got something going on, right? Something going on right that, and I worry about now when that starts to end and things like that, and I worry about how people deal with it because it's lonely at the top, and like I
Mm,
said, it's easy to work your ass off and keep winning and just keep that going. But then when the structure of the military kind of stops and goes away, are you able to transition out of that very easy structure? Because it's all written down in a book how to
yeah,
succeed.
yeah,
They have a
yeah.
manual and all that thing. When that goes away, I hope people would deal with it. On the enlisted side and things, I know we have a terrible time dealing with it, especially with the last 20, 30 years of guys. But um, hopefully that'll be easier for people in the
Yeah,
future.
I've seen good transitions and bad transitions, and a lot of it, quite simply comes down to, um, I think humility and an attitude. Your mentality, not an attitude, but humility with the right mentality coming into it. Because the one thing that I noticed, and this is one thing I tell everybody, is that there's not going to be anybody in your life when you leave that you can rely on like just the average dude in your ODA or in your team, right? I mean, whenever we had something to do as a group together, in the teams, whether it was social or work or what, dudes showed up. They were on time or early, ready to go with all the gear, ready to, you're not going to find that with anybody unless you like find another military dude that, happens to be a local buddy. I would recommend trying to find those guys in your world. Luckily around here, there's a lot of veterans that retire, um, and come back here. That which is nice because I can kind of find that on a civilian level, some people to relate to. But that was probably my hardest thing is where I kind of had this new buddy. I was in this new town where I lived, and yeah, I'll meet you out there. I'll see you there at 6 o'clock. Meet at a restaurant, beer, hang out. Gonna go. I don't know. I think we're going bowling or something. Something stupid, and doesn't show up. You know, but this was before cell phones. You know, or before I had one. Um, and it was just like, man, this sucks. I remember coming home being kind of just sad, just like, man, just uh, it's like I was lost, a little bit lost, and but once I realized that, okay, it's not going to be that way, or I try to create my own little world where I find that, and that's what I did with. I just started training people and coaching people who wanted to serve, and I thought I'd at least be able to, still keep my foot in the door of a community that was very similar to what I enjoyed so much. If that makes sense.
It absolutely does. Like looking in a mirror here for me. I moved to Wisconsin from Joint Base Lewis McChord. Have you ever been?
Yeah, up in Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful. A little gray, a little wet most of the year, but beautiful. And turns out that's where all my friends were. And then I left, and then I moved to Wisconsin, which is a quick 32-hour drive straight down the road, and isolated myself from everybody that I
yeah,
knew out here, and started a job that I turned out I didn't like right away. I didn't like it all, and then I got into another job, and then I didn't. Turns out I didn't like that either. But completely isolated myself from the community, and only now, really, as I got pulled back into it, went and worked down after the hurricane came through North Carolina, and then came back and started this. I created my own network and my own community, plugged back in, and
nice.
I've distilled it down to really in people's transitions, they don't um, start coming out of their funk or feeling better until they join somebody else's team or they create their own.
Yeah,
And that could be a team of one or two people. I
yeah,
made lesser known operators my own little thing, and I have hundreds of people that I talk to on the weekly now, and
nice,
I, I mean, I got to meet Cody Post, and I'm kind of part of the team over at the SWID there, and I do make
nice.
content for those guys and hang out with them, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of work, but the benefits far outweigh the amount of work that I've put in. And, been fun. I uh, I also had a lot I didn't get to do. I only did 8 years, and I got medically retired. There's a lot left in the tank for continued service. So let's see what else we can do. You can't ask anything from somebody that did 20 or 30 years. They might still want to do it, but you can't say, "Oh, we need you on this one." Nope, I fucking did my time. They're done. But me, you can ask me to do a shitload more because I didn't get to do it. I want to do all these things, and it just
Yeah,
looks like a different way. So it's no, I know exactly what you mean. And you can't. rely on anybody else and for anything. Even people that I re- think I can rely on. I don't expect anything from anybody else
Yeah,
because
I think that's healthy.
yeah,
You
I
know.
if when even when people cancel, it's policy of the show and people cancel. It's just no worries.
Oh
Everybody,
yeah,
I
yeah,
operate on other people's goodwill and time and things like that. You know, if you got to cancel, you got a life and your business. You're doing me a favor by helping me out. That's fine. I
yeah.
hope we reschedule. Maybe not. Some people go away forever. That's fine too. But it's a it's a different world out here.
It is. It is a little
Yes.
different, but with some patience and just the right mindset going into it, you can navigate it perfectly fine and crush it.
Yeah,
That's find my advice is find what you like to do. Find what you're talented in doing. As well. You may not like what you're talented in doing, but it can be a good tool for you for a little while, and then see if you can side gig what you really love to do. Next thing you know, your side gig is now your main gig, and you love doing what you're doing.
that's the
And
goal, right?
yeah, yeah.
Why did you get out after 8 years?
Uh, it was a weird time. I was in from 91 until 99. Okay. And it was the 90s.
It was
There's
quiet.
not a whole lot was going on. Economy was blowing up. There were more people getting out than were coming in. I mean, they were paying people to leave the military. We had downsizing. The Army got decimated in the mid 90s, and Officer Corps did too. They're paying everybody like early retirements. If you had like 6 years in, they'll give you 25 grand to just get out. It's a completely different world, and that wasn't the reason. It just looked like, what are we doing? One of the deployments I went, was like a European vacation and traveling to all these different countries and training with the special ops units. And, it wasn't even a FID mission, it was just bilateral training with your allies. Um, 90s were just peaceful. It was just the way it was. Now, I will say this in 93, when the first tower explosion happened, we thought we were like going to go do something, right? We're a little disappointed, that it turned into like a CIA law enforcement mission than anything else. Um, so that was kind of the first one, and then we were deployment in the Adriatic, in that area with the Mediterranean when Bosnia and all that was going on, and just waiting to do something, and nothing happened, and so that was a little disappointing. Had I stuck around for a few more years, I probably wouldn't have gotten out because it probably
Yeah.
would have been the thing to do. But I had a daughter in '97, and I had a son in 2001, and it just my life was changing real quickly, and it felt like just staying with them. We've lived in the same house their whole life. They planted roots. You
Yeah.
know, they've never moved. So there's more family reasons, I think, more than anything else, than the political climate, than the threat climate.
I mean, the 90s, yeah, for us, a lot of yelling bang, taking civilian vehicles out to the range because there's no fuel to fuel up the Humvees or,
Mhm.
you know, no money for training. Do you think that, because 8 years is a long time. When you sit down and think about it, 8 years is a long time. If you do anything for 8 years, do you
It's long
think that
enough,
you
you
think that
know.
you compare the global war on terror uh, op tempo to what you did and then kind of
No,
talk it down?
not even. I don't even come close. I stay in
No,
my
no.
lane. You know,
Okay.
I just stay in my lane. I said, look, I was a SEAL in the '90s.
No, 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 no,
In
no.
my
Not like that.
time. Yeah.
Not like that. Do you? Because I find myself kind of talking down what I did because I would compare
Oh,
it to
oh
other
yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
because
In
you
fact,
just listed through all these things that would be wildly exciting to anybody else that wasn't in special operations. And then you go, I just did this and trained with all these foreign militaries, and we did an ADRAB, we did all. I'm like, that's still pretty fucking cool.
In hindsight, yeah, with your perspective, I think that is pretty cool. But yeah, I downplay it significantly compared to what they're doing, because in the 80s and 90s, there was a good chance you could spend 20 years in the SEAL teams and never see combat. Now, after 9/11, most of those guys never saw peace in 20 plus years. So, completely different experience. I was staying in a hotel in Europe for my deployment, making per diem. These guys were getting it on every day, living. It is a completely different experience. So,
I also, and I was in the right years, 2011 to 2018, and uh, I don't. This is not exaggeration. Did not get to do anything, even remotely. Like I said, nothing that the Army taught me how to do except for fall out of a plane did I ever do in reality.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a 18 Charlie, our thing is inventories, but shockingly enough, they don't spend any time on that in the Q course. They don't teach you how to count things and put it and annotate it on the sheet. A serial number match. Okay, on to the next one. They don't spend any time on that one. But I got to do some cool things, and I'm okay with it now. And that's been a benefit of the show, is talking to more people and realizing, it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been a whole lot worse. I could have got hurt in the course, which I did. And, it wasn't bad enough to drop me. I got some injuries in the course that probably contributed to me getting medically retired later. Maybe some heat injuries and some more concussions that I didn't take care of that were
Yeah.
made worse when I got hurt all that bad day. But yeah, it could have been a whole lot worse. So I'm okay with it right now. And from talking, talking to Cody, he brought you up. He goes, yeah, it was similar stories. So that's why I was interested in talking to you, because,
Oh, cool.
there was always the thought of, man, could I have done this? Should I go to this, go to that? It's like, it wasn't in the cards. It didn't work out. It's not the way it went. I didn't get blown up. I didn't get shot. I have the ability now to speak and reflect on other people's experiences and hopefully distill that down to some sort of lesson. And that's what I have left in the tank, right? I can do what I am doing extremely well. I can still be a Green Beret, just in civilian clothes and flip flops, and go squat around the country and make an ass of myself on Instagram and things like that. But I'm making up for things I still want to do. I still want to serve and be as good as I was going to be in uniform. I can even be better on this side because I have no rules. I have
Yeah.
no limitations. I can go see a group sergeant major and I can go walk into a team room a couple minutes apart, So it's once you start, I started accepting that I can do way more like this. I can have more of an influence. I can have a bigger impact on regiment as long as I'm not a dickbag.
Yeah.
I think
Some people need, I think most people need people to look up to, you know, and coach them in certain ways and mentor them and just give them advice, and I enjoy doing that. I realized probably my last couple of years in that I enjoyed being a coach. And I was able to go back to the academy and coach two levels of people. I was coaching the young kids that were getting ready for spec ops jobs, and I was coaching the midshipmen who failed fitness tests. Right. And I was on both ends of that spectrum, helping both of them. And I was like, this is really cool. I was like, I'd love to do this the rest of my life, but that wasn't going to happen. Um, as a member in the military, and I just loved coaching and trying to figure out new ways to um, reach the younger generation that needed to hear what I recommended. And being doing this for 25 years now, it has been more of a challenge to stay relevant than anything else. But with those 25 years comes 25 years of learning and experience and things I do now. You know, probably didn't do way back then, and things I did way back then, I probably don't do now. So I'm evolving with the times as well as with science of training and learning about recovery and teaching about recovery. And these kids are sharp, man. I'm thoroughly impressed with this younger generation that's going in because I see a section of that younger generation that just impresses me as the kids that show up, work hard, get dirty, get cold, get hot, get uncomfortable, learn new skills quickly, and then just go chase their dream. And one of my favorite things about Thanksgiving and Christmas is all these local kids that I've trained for 20 plus years ago come back and they visit their parents and they visit their families and they join our workouts, and it's like a little reunion of people coming back, and it's just so fun to hear them talk about what they're doing now, what they've done. And hearing the younger guys ask them all the same stupid questions I used to ask kids that would come back. And it's just it's just something that is so rewarding that I don't think I'm ever gonna stop doing it. That'd the last thing I'm ever doing is gonna be running on that trail, with a group of teenagers and kids that want to serve. That'd
Yeah.
be all right with me.
I'm hoping I go down in I just, the light goes out. I'm going down on a heavy back squat, and that's it. I just die right there, and everybody else gets to panic and freak out, and I'm long gone. He ain't coming back. That's good. So, uh, it's got to keep you young though, because really your pool stays pretty much the same age, and you gotta will yourself into doing the workouts and getting out there, and I got to show up. Keeps you accountable, even
Yeah,
though you're
it
like,
does.
oh, my hip hurts today. Which my audience has heard me. If your hip hurts, you feel 1,000 years old. There is nothing
Yeah.
worse than your hip hurts. It makes you feel
Yeah.
like you're a senior citizen and you need a walker.
Telling you, man, Mobility Day changed my world. My hips used to hurt badly. And when I do a Mobility Day, I'm walking out to my truck after a workout and I'm like, wait a second. I don't feel any pain. I feel no pain right now. Like, what is that like? I mean, it's life changing is what it's like. It will change the way you feel and the way you do everything. When you can like reduce pain. It's
I'm
highly
starting to
recommended.
notice. I'm starting to notice quite a few of the benefits of getting back, because I took 6 years off to try and drink myself to death, and
Mm.
after that ended, I really went back into the gym, like, and professionally back into the gym. Like, we're taking this very seriously. And I was making the dogs food last night, and I'm standing up and I'm bent all the way over making their food, and I go, this used to hurt. And I just kind of go over to the next one. Don't stand up. Like, this used to hurt. Man, I must be getting, strong and a little
That's
more
awesome.
flexible and things like,
That's
because
awesome.
the pool is helpful with that. But really, for me, the heavy weight going.
And full range of motion. Anytime you go
Oh,
full range of
yeah,
motion, you're doing mobility work.
I
You know.
even on my arms, I do the fully all the way back. I'm stretching as much as I can, everything. And then squats is no doubt. All my
Oh
reps
yeah.
count. That's for
I've seen your
sure.
squats. They're impressive. Flip flop
But
squats.
that
Good
was a
stuff.
fun that was a fun project, man. And I just started having the flip flops on to troll people, to go, look at this idiot. And then I was I was like, well, I guess I don't have to put shoes on because it's lightweight. And I was, okay, we'll just keep doing it. That was a fun. I thought it was going to be so stupid the first I set out, and I got into day two. I went, this is kind of fun. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to keep doing this. We'll just see where it goes. This is
You do
fun.
you, man. You do
Yeah.
you. That's awesome.
I don't know. People like, oh, I leave. Obviously, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I just push my weights a half a mile from my truck up to the White House, and people taking pictures of me. Obviously, I don't care what anybody thinks. I mean, I do, and I
It's
also
pretty
don't. Like,
amazing.
I'll make my content and make my stuff, and I'm having fun, and people seem to enjoy it, and hopefully, it'll inspire somebody to do something difficult. That's more rewarding than something not difficult, and we'll see. That's all I can hope for. And then you got to hope the same thing, right? Is
Oh yeah.
because you got a lot of content out there, a lot of information, a lot of material. How is it? You know, you can only skin the cat so many ways. How is it when you get in your mind like, I feel like I'm just saying the same stuff over again? But then you look at your people that are asking you questions, they're asking you the same fucking questions over and over again. So how do you deal with that of in your head, you've said this 1,000 times, but people are still asking?
Well, there's always a little subtle difference depending on the person asking, right? So usually I may get the same question 50, 60 times, but the answer usually depends on a few factors, like what's their athletic history, what do they want to do, like what job they want to do, um, where's their current strengths and weaknesses? Are they talking to a recruiter now? Because if you're talking to a recruiter now, you're on the recruiter's timeline, not your timeline. How much time do you have, to do this? How many days per week? What's your equipment available? So usually when I get questions about training, the big answer I have is it kind of depends on the next few things you tell me, right? And usually the answer is similar, a little bit different. There's a different way to personalize that answer, if you will, because not everybody has the same process to prepare themselves for anything in the spec ops world. Some people do. Some similar athletes will, um, but we all come from different backgrounds, different strengths and weaknesses, different heights and weights, and all that matters in the answer to how it best fits their question. So I haven't had a problem with a whole bunch. What I tend to do is my most common questions, I make articles out of them. And then when people ask me that question and they don't give me any information, I say, here, read this. Right. And that's an answer to that question that I just send them to my article. That's also a link to my store. If they want to buy a program that, prepares them for being an old guy like me, the ageless athlete, um, they can, they can buy one of those programs.
So for the entirety of the global war on terror, you're more in the training sector, right?
That's
Getting
all.
guys
Yeah.
ready for the
Yeah.
physical side. Uh, and myself included, I had no really experience in on the tactical side of things going through that side because you had the 90s and you went and you did training here and there and bilateral training and things like that. But now uh, all that's ended, right? And now we're returning to the 90s. Do you think some
Yeah.
of that institutional knowledge that you have of how things were is now going to become important to guys' mindsets going forward of saying, hey, all that stuff you saw for the last 25 years, that's starting to go away. And you need to, you have knowledge of how it was before September 10th or on
Yeah.
September 10th that's going forward.
Yeah. For the new guys, I give them that information. For the old guys who spent, let's say, a decade in those combat deployments, them coming back, that's probably the hardest one to deal with because you're either one or two people. You're either dying to get back or you're like, oh, this is pretty nice. I don't have to go live in a tent somewhere and, you know, do things. But you're either one or two people. Most guys in the spec ops world are that first person that are like, I can't believe we're doing all this training, all this deploying, and we're not doing our job. Right. For those guys, I say, look, terrorism ain't going anywhere. It's just in hibernation right now. and it's probably going to come back because we we haven't turned people who hated us into allies by any means, right? So it's not going anywhere. There's going to be another generation of it, I'm sure. For the younger guys, I say just stand by because all the guys that joined with me that stayed in, you know, had a career of training, and then they were operating. And to the person, every one of them says, I got too much of both. You know what I mean? I spent 25 years in, and I got too much of not doing anything the first 10 years and too much of doing it all the second 15 years. Um, so it's, just learn your craft. When you
Yeah.
have this time right now to practice your craft, that's when you can get really good at it and find the things that is your expertise. There's going to be something in this world that is yours, right? It might be flying drones because nobody knows how to fly a drone yet, in the platoon, right? You may be doing offensive and defensive tactics with a drone now. I mean, drone warfare alone is revolutionized, right in front of our very eyes with, what's going on in Ukraine. So there's a lot to learn still. And I
Yeah.
think the next war is going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past.
Yeah, I think we'll all gonna die, and everything that we talk about is gonna be null and void. And that's
Nobody's going to know
really
us in 100
no,
years.
no. We're everything's gonna be wiped off the face of the earth, and I, I'm an optimistic pessimist when it comes to that. I go. There's a lot of nukes in the world, and until we can get rid of almost all of them, one of them is eventually going to get into the hands of somebody that's going to use it, and it's going to be a bad day.
That's a shame to think that way, but you're probably right. It's a shame that that could be an answer. And I think it's our nightmare, as Americans that, if you're in the defense world, that's probably our biggest threat right now. Um, there's minor things compared to that going on. All the stuff that's going on now is, the small stuff. But you're
Yeah,
right. That's the big stuff. That's the big stuff. Like in the Cold War, we worried about mutual assured destruction and strategic deterrence, and we were never going to go to battle because both ends would lose, and it's I don't think we have that right now. With the adversaries the way it's set up. I don't know. I should just stay in my lane and just focus on push-ups. Nicholas.
absolutely, absolutely. I have no ability to influence any decision at any of those levels, and I do not care one bit. If the nukes start flying, I'll deal with that when they do, and we'll see what happens. We'll see, drive north and camp out until the winter takes us. But I'm not worried about really any of it. I worried about what I can influence and what I can touch and attain and help out with here and there, and just being as positive as I can be. And there's so much negativity in all
Oh my
these
God.
things, in our
Yeah.
phone and the internet and everything, and people in the comments. And it's just, hey, there's no need for that. I'll mess with people if they're being outright mean or something like that, just to make a point that they are being mean. But yeah, there's too much negativity. There's too much negativity in the space, but as I said, it's very difficult to stand out if you're being positive. The algorithm tends
I
not to
agree.
push things like that.
I agree. Yeah. Something I created with my dog on Facebook, and my dog just passed away on Monday. So I'm a
Mm,
little bit messed up by it. Um, but he was with us through three presidential cycles and COVID, right? And so I created this little hashtag over on Facebook. It's called "All Puppies, No Politics." Completely fixed my algorithm from just a whole bunch of arguing on Facebook with strangers to just people sharing puppy pictures, and no politics, whatever. It was the perfect answer to over there on my Facebook page anyway. So yeah, he was my buddy. 13 years.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no
Those hurt, man.
we don't
People,
deserve dogs.
no, we don't. And people respond to your dog passing more than they would if you passed. It's like I think we all know our first loss was probably a family pet.
Yeah.
And it hits us deep. Every time I see somebody make a post of like, the Rainbow Bridge or whatever, for their dog, and I just like I feel for them because I feel like a little piece of my heart just was ripped out, and now I'm walking through the house and just little things that remind me of them, like I drop a piece of food on the floor, knowing my little beagle was going to come over and clean it up for me, or like I was so like I had this wrapper in the kitchen. I was unwrapping something, and usually if there's a wrapper going on in the kitchen, there's going to be a dog coming to the kitchen to see what's happening. Get a little piece of that. So I've been messing myself up all week, and
Oh,
it's but anyway, yeah, you can fix your algorithm real quick by just posting cool stuff and fun stuff.
yeah.
Don't be a
There's
dick. Don't be a dick.
no, no. You don't want to do that. I'm sorry to hear about your dog. I
Yeah.
have my 3 Frenchies upstairs, and they're all terrible. Frenchies are the worst and the
Oh.
best, and they're celebrities everywhere they go, and they know it too. But I took the fluffy one. He's the youngest. He's a boy. I took him on the road trip, and he
Oh,
held the whole thing together.
that's fun.
He'd listening to me just losing my mind through the desert and going, "What the fuck are we doing out here? God damn it, this sucks. I don't want to drive anymore. How much further we got to go?" And he's just looking at me. He's like, Are you going to give me that burger patty yet or no?" So no, they're the best. And then we don't deserve dogs, but
No,
they sure
no.
enjoy hanging out with us.
Yeah, I love them.
So what was your favorite part? I mean, you did it 8 years. What was your favorite part outside of the training and being in group, or was it on the team? You got to say on the teams, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're at teams. I think there were some moments, when you're doing your training and you realize that you've learned something in your training. You did something like an emergency procedure that worked, or you you just amazed yourself, by making a decision that um was out of the box that nobody thought of, and you're going to go with that and might even change some doctrine because of it. Just little things that became the big things, kind of. One that comes to mind, I think, and this is really elementary, but you're doing a night dive, and you got your buddy, and it's called an O2 exhaustion dive. Whenever you go until your dragger runs out of oxygen, which typically, depending on how you breathe, takes about 3.5 hours to do. So you got to be diving for 3.5 hours, which sucks, but it's also a fun challenge, right? So we leave Little Creek down the harbor, go across to the other side of Little Creek, make this big box out in the middle of the bay there, and then we do the ship attack. And by the time we get to the ship attack, I am running low on air, right? I got almost none. My buddy has like 5% left, right? So we're looking at each other, and I'm like passing like eyeballs, like I got no more air, just very little. So we start buddy breathing underneath the ship. And I don't know if you've ever been underneath a ship scuba diving at night, but there's no such thing as a darker moment than underneath the ship at midnight scuba diving. It is dark, dark, black, can't feel anything, can't see anything. You're just feeling around. You're giving signals to your buddy like, "Hey, I'm out of air." You know, he turns off his um, regulator, put it in my mouth. And the cool thing about a rebreather is you get about 4 or 5 breaths on a breath. So I take one big hit of his, close it, put it back in his mouth, grab mine, exhale, back into my rig. So now I can go for about 4 or 5 breaths before I run out again, right? And so we do our thing underneath the ship, and then we're starting to go out. We do another couple of buddy breathing. Now we can kind of see because we're not underneath the ship, but we're making our exfil out of there. And we wound up buddy breathing for, I don't know, another 15 minutes, getting out of there. And then we just turtle back because we both ran out of air, and we just turtle backed, about a mile back to where we started. And that was just one of those things where it could have gone to shit really quickly. Like there could have been a panic. There could have been, um, something go wrong with not closing a regulator, whenever you switch mouths or something. There's like 5 different things that could go wrong, and nothing did. And it was just one of those things where I like, damn, all that training we've been doing, that was really something, and you know, people who know diving, you know, say, yeah, that was something, right? Or people who don't, can't comprehend what just happened. Um, but that was probably one of the neat moments of doing it, other than just personal self um, satisfaction of being in a room with all these great people. Back in my day in the early 90s, there were still guys from Vietnam that were in. They were the master chiefs, the warrant officers, and stuff like that. And you were in the same room with them and listening to what they had to do and listening to what they would recommend us do now. Even though it's not Vietnam and it's not the 70s. I mean, just being able to get that kind of wisdom just because you earned a spot to sit in that room, those were some of the more satisfying times, I think, during those 8 years that I look back on and very, very fond of those times for sure.
First part of your story, horrifying. That sounds horrifyingly scary to me. And I'm only scared of water. That sounds absolutely terrible. Second part, that's got to be cool.
Yeah.
Did you appreciate it then, or were you
Oh
still
yeah.
your head was on fire? Okay.
Oh yeah. There were a couple of warrant officers. You know how warrant officers are. This mythical beast.
Are they the same as ours?
Oh
Useless,
man.
like
Oh, I
nobody
wouldn't
knows
call
what they
them
do.
useless. I mean, they're all in training now.
Well, so
they kind of
so there's two. I mean, SF warrant officer, a lot of experience, but still nobody
yes.
knows what they do. Regular Army warrant officer, totally useless.
Oh yeah, these guys weren't totally useless. I mean, they didn't do any operations or anything, but they were there knee deep in our training to make our training realistic, to make it hard, and then just valuable assets to just listen to speak. I mean, I was full out receive mode whenever there was a room full of trainers like that talking, and you know I figured I didn't need to talk at this moment. Right, I just you just sit and listen and take in whatever they wanted to say, and then when they'd ask a question, I'd be like, all right, here's a good question. you know Try not to be stupid. And no, I look back at those times as like very satisfying that I was able to sit in that room with them.
Hmm.
you know
I'm sure you fall into the classic section of our community that has no pictures of anything you did back in the day.
Yeah, we didn't have cameras back
Yeah.
then. I mean, we had cameras. We didn't have cameras like this.
No, no.
Um, I got a few. Here's one. Hang on a second. So I don't have many. I got my bud's picture over here. So
Mm.
that's my bud's class, and this is just a like a combat swimmer course we did. So that's me right
Oh,
there.
that's a cool picture, though. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't have too many pictures. Largely just because we didn't. No one was carrying a camera around.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. You gotta. There's somebody has to be taking pictures to actually
Yeah.
get the pictures. That's why when I'm with the National Guard guys, I'm always trying to snap pictures and get on because nobody's doing that shit. Nobody thinks of it. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, everybody, get your beret out so that you can take a picture. You're gonna want this later. So you've you got out, you get the training and everything, and to give back to the community, to keep training the next generation, to hopefully pass on some sort of wisdom. As far as that's concerned, have you gotten to do everything you've wanted to do with that? You can continue doing it the same way, but is there anything that you want to do in that arena still going forward in the training sector?
Good question. As of right now, I can't say there's something that I want to do uh outside of this or even bigger version of this. One thing I know I don't want to do is uh and this is no offense to people who chase government contracts. I don't want to work for the government at all. I actually enjoy donating my time, free training, and not having to work for someone. Like 25 years, I've been self-employed too, right? So I think I am certifiably unemployable. So as far as like taking it to another level and working for somebody else or something, I just I don't enjoy that. So I'm not sure how this is going to end. Um, but like I said, I enjoy doing it the way it is. Trying to think if there's something where somewhere else I want to take it other than just evolving with technology. That is where I see it growing to different levels. Like I just started this week, I just started a school account, the skool.com account, Stu Smith Tactical Fitness over on school. Um, so I'm trying to see if that's a platform that makes sense for what I do. Like create a tactical fitness community, have some courses in there, teach swimming in there, all types of stuff, and see where that goes. I don't know, but I'm just trying to keep my eyes open, ears open, and keep evolving with what's going on. That's the thing I try to do. All right.
No, you're
Sorry
good,
about
man.
that. That was a
No,
fully hydrated 56-year-old bladder. So
the amount of water I drink is staggering. It's and I have to drink so much water. I take like 10 to 20 grams of creatine a day. I I eat 250 grams of protein a day. I sleep. I
yeah, you need
hydrate.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, and I eat a tremendous amount of salt. I mean, enough to make a normal person sick. But
Oh.
if I don't, I get headaches.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
You
it's
sweat a lot?
I'm a big sweater, big
Yeah.
sweater. Yeah. So, that's something they don't teach you. I would get the debilitating headaches from uh, dehydration when I was a kid,
Oh
and
damn.
you had no idea about dehydration. You didn't know. I would sit out in the
Electrolytes
sun and
and water.
cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
drinking Mountain Dew as a kid. Totally useless. The stuff. It's unbelievable how stupid I was back then. Everybody
Hey.
was. We all were.
Yeah.
We're all so stupid. No, man, I really enjoyed talking to you today. Cody Post thinks the world of you,
Oh,
and
yeah, he's great.
now
So
I think
smart, that dude.
he is inspiring to listen to. He has a lot of wisdom. He's very well read. He's very smart. He
So
knows
smart. So
exactly what he's
smart.
talking about. And now
Mm,
he's in a position to mentor the next generation. And
that's awesome.
hopefully I can aid in getting some of the stuff that he says and he wants to do. Because the stuff that he says and that he wants to do is so inspiring to hear from a Green Beret that they've stayed in long enough to have the perspective that somebody should, but they're still at a level to affect change at a team level, right?
Yeah.
Because that's in the Guard. You can stay in that long enough. Usually in the regular Army, that person would be long gone, way off into the stratosphere of
Yeah, it's
leadership,
true.
that they're at a campaign level. But in the Guard, you can have that, and it's I think it's really cool. And you need to hit him up. We can't let
Yeah.
that dive school thing go. If he can do it, I mean, I was like, I'll be there at graduation if you
Yeah.
go do that. I'll get the Army involved, and we'll get everybody. I'll do everything I can to get
That
that,
would be
because
awesome.
that would be cool, and he can do it. And I said the Army would love you if you did that too, because that's big for them.
Oh
So,
yeah. Good
but
commercial.
it would.
Be a poster child. He'd be a poster child.
Everything is an opportunity to shine a positive light on regiment or special operations or just the people that go into it and then come out of it the other side. And I hope it sounds like that you do well in that. I hope I can do that in the future. And thank you for coming on the show and talking to me. I love your workouts, and
Thank you.
even though I am terrible at them, so how can everybody find you on the socials and your website and all that if they so choose?
Yeah, I mean, my website's stewsmithfitness.com. You can email me, stew@stewsmithfitness.com. It's pretty easy. I answer emails all the time. They give me ideas to write about, but I'm on Instagram, stewsmith50. That's my high school football number, so I always go with that. So TikTok, stewsmith50, YouTube, stewsmith182. That's about my buds class. So, yeah. So yeah, you can find me. Just Google me. I have over 1,000 articles I've written in the last 25 years. So I probably have answered a question. And in fact, if you have a question, ask the Google machine and put my name in the search, and I probably have answered that question online somewhere. So check it out.
Well, even more impressive for those listening at home and those that will not think anything of this, but to have any sort of influence in the fitness industry and your last name is Smith is probably your greatest accomplishment,
Well, thank you. I would agree. Yeah,
because
there's a lot of
what
us
a
out there.
what a market. To stand out amongst the Smiths is an accomplishment unparalleled in this day and age. So
That's pretty funny.
congratulations on that.
Good one.
So,
Good one.
hey brother, you got anything for me?
Nah, man, I love it. I love what you do. Keep squatting around the world. That's what I want to see. That's the kind of stuff I show up for on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so keep on doing it.
The
It's
guys
good
down at
stuff.
Key West said I got to get down there and get the weights down to the bottom of the pool and do that. And I said, Dad, I'm down for it. I'd love to do that. So we'll see where
That'd be
things
sweet.
go.
That's
Again,
cool.
I appreciate you coming on. Now you know me and I know you. And if you ever need
Yes.
anything that you think I can help
Same.
with, well, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Well, on your travels, if you're in the Maryland, Annapolis area, come by, join us. I'll teach you how to do mobility day.
I'll teach you how to get sore in the gym. Again, I
I can do it. Let's do it.
appreciate you. Bye, everybody.